This is the Everything Weight Loss podcast with Shari, Ware, where we talk about everything, all things, anything to do with weight loss, health, and wellness. Welcome to episode 3 of the Everything Weight Loss podcast. I am here today with the amazing Dawn Cady, who helps parents who are business owners overcome depression, anxiety, and stress so they can heal their emotional and physical pain to reach their full potential in order to raise truly happy and healthy kids using a unique process called the neural alignment method. This method makes it possible for people to control and heal any physical, mental, or chronic pain by themselves, which is super awesome. So they have enough focus, energy, and clarity to thrive at home and explode their business. Having personally overcome disability, PTSD, depression, and addiction, Dawn created the method to guide others how to heal their bodies so they too can grow and thrive in business and a parent. Now, Dawn, you have an amazing story, which I have heard, and I just want other people to hear it as well because I know that it will help so many people in their own life. So tell us more about that journey.
Well, when I share it, people are quite shocked that one person could go through so many health issues. So my health issues started when I was around 1 year old, and it was ears, nose, throat, then it went into stomach issues, then it went into kidney issues, then it went into varicose vein issues, then it went into kidney. Like, it was just a whole host of things. And yeah, it was a journey. And I took that eventually. I was meant to heal myself and show other people how to do it because I weren't getting the answers. I was going in the system and the same things would happen over and over again. It's in your head, being believed, wasn't being heard. I felt so isolated, and it just escalated to the point that I ended up with mental health issues because of it. Now, where it started for me, where it got really bad, is obviously the ears and nose and throat. A lot of kids go through that. But it's when I started with the bowel issues. So I took myself to the doctors in the hospital when I was about 15, 16, um, saying I'm suffering. And I did this without my parents because I think my parents were just sick of me being sick and I just didn't want to be a burden anymore. So I took myself to the doctor and the doctor referred me to the hospital. And when I went to hospital, I was an outpatient for years. And they said, "Oh, I think it's in your head, Dawn. I think that what you're saying that's going on for you may be something that you're making up." So I was discharged from hospital. And 2 years later, I'd end up almost dead with 1 litre of blood in my body and my organs going into failure.
Wow.
And from that, I started to think that was my first realization of thinking, do you know what? I think that it's just because they don't know what to do with you, that they tell you it's in your head because they have no other answer. And I healed myself from, I would be diagnosed with a disease called ulcerative colitis, and I'd be discharged from hospital with 32 tablets a day. I'd have
Wow.
blood transfusions. And I was told that that was going to be my life. I'd be on meds. So these are the three options they said. They said, you'd be on medication for the rest of your life. The chances are that you won't keep your bowel. If you do keep your bowel, you'll have cancer in your 30s.
Wow.
That was pretty much what I've noticed about my life was going to be. Now, me being stubborn and starting to realize that these drugs were giving me side effects, like I was getting, my knees would be bright red, they'd start to hurt, I'd be getting kidney and liver, I could feel pain and tenderness from these drugs that I was on, and I'd have to go every week to firstly test if I needed a blood transfusion, and secondly to test if my liver and kidneys were okay, that they weren't going
Wow.
to failure.
Yep.
And that rung alarm bells for me. I mean, I was only like 22 at the time, but I was like, this doesn't feel right. This is not right. They're giving me something to keep. I can live without this organ. But they're giving me drugs that are damaging organs that you can't live without.
Yeah.
That set alarm bells for me. And from that, I decided that I was going to start to heal myself and not take the drugs. But what I am going to do is I'm going to rewind back, because I forgot. I didn't share that. I did share this with you before, but when I was in hospital, I'd been wheeled down to theatre to have my bowel removed 3 times. I'd had a stoma nurse come. I'd had exactly where they were going to cut me open and remove my bowel and where my bag was going to go.
Wow.
And I refused to have the operation. The first time I refused, they brought my mum and dad at the time. So remember, I was 22 when this was happening. They took my mum and dad in a room and pretty much begged them to get me to sign the form, because they said that I'd die if I didn't have the operation. They said my bowel would perforate and kill me. The second time, they brought my boyfriend at the time into a room and asked him as well. And then the third time, they brought them all in to the room with me, and they was asking my parents to beg me to have the operation. Now, some of you might think, well, this is reckless. On earth would you not get your bowel removed? They're telling you that you're going to die. I had complete knowing and absolute certainty that I could survive with my bowel. I can't explain it to anybody what this feeling was like. It was absolute certainty. Anything that they said just made no sense to me.
Yeah.
I was just like, no, I'm not going to have this huge operation. I'm not going to get my bowel removed. I'm not going to have a colostomy bag. I'm not going to come back in so you can create a new bowel for me. I don't need to do that. I just had this knowing that my mind was going to help me through my bowel and heal. And I know that sounds out there and wacky and weird, but the only way I can explain that is when you tap into that, you can heal from anything.
Yeah, wow, that's so powerful.
Yeah. So that's what, this is where they say that miracles happen. They say, oh, this is a miracle. When the medical world don't understand how you've done something, they go, oh, it's a miracle. Like
when they can't explain it.
When they can't explain it. And the thing is, all I did was I had absolute certainty, and I started communicating with my body. I started communicating with my bowel. And 3 years later, I was completely off of the drugs, and I never had another flare-up.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's the first time. I didn't learn the first time. Even though I did myself, I went back, I got sick again, 11 weeks pregnant, went into renal failure. So that means your kidneys start to fail. And I needed to be on antibiotics throughout my entire pregnancy, which caused a whole host of issues for my health and my son's health. Destroyed his stomach. He's completely allergic to most things due to antibiotics. Strips out all the probiotics, all of the good bacteria in your gut. So this is why I'm so passionate about this, because most things that I've gone through with the medical world is me on another level. It's destroyed a different part of my body. All those drugs that I was taking damaged my kidneys.
Oh.
And then I'd be diagnosed with another disease, and I just didn't buy into the medical way.
Well, because you were meant for bigger things. You're meant to help other people through this.
I truly believe that. I truly do. I believe that I have had to go through that complete hell because it wasn't easy, and I'm not going to paint a pretty picture that, you know what I mean, it's suddenly I just overcome this.
Yeah.
It took years and years of research, years and years of dealing with this, psychological issues, depression, nervous breakdowns, PTSD, you name it. I've probably been through some element of it.
Yeah, wow. Okay, so you had 2 major episodes, and when I say major, I mean massive, health episodes in your life. Going over, each time was going over a period of time.
Yeah.
It wasn't just one isolated incident. It was a series, and you basically healed your body yourself through the power of your mind and talking to your body.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Wow. So one of the questions I ask people when I interview is, what's your superpower? So that pretty much sounds like that's a pretty awesome superpower.
Do you know what is my biggest superpower? that I've only just started to share with other people is I can actually communicate with other people's bodies. And yeah, so it's like,
Wow.
imagine your mobile phone and I ring you, Shari. It's exactly like that. There's something, my phone is speaking to your phone. There's a frequency, and that message relays across that line. It's no different with the human body. They modeled the mobile phone on how our bodies communicate. It's incredible.
Wow.
I just tune into the frequency of that person's body, and the body will tell me what's going on and what needs to be done and what needs to be shifted.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay. So what kinds of people do you help with this then?
all sorts of people. Wow, I've had all sorts. I've had people who have been pinned against the wall by machinery and they've been in chronic pain for 20, 25 years, who have not been able to walk properly and now can walk absolutely fine, completely reduced the pain, got the life back. I've worked with people with back pain, neck pain. I've worked with people with MS, worked with people with all sorts of chronic illness, all sorts of chronic disease, fibromyalgia, you name it, I've worked with it.
Okay. So when what are some of the biggest mistakes that people make? And maybe they're not mistakes, maybe it's just that they don't know what they don't know.
Yeah.
When they've got chronic pain, because that's mainly what you deal with.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
I do, so I have pain clinics in Western Sydney. So I actually deal with chronic pain in my pain clinics, and Alleviate Pain is pretty much anything that's stopping you from living your best life is pain. I truly believe it's pain. It's just different ends of the scale. Emotional pain, physical pain, believe it or not, is pretty much treated very similarly.
Wow. Okay. So what are some of the biggest mistakes that people make when they're trying to heal this then?
Yeah, so with chronic pain, the biggest mistake is that it's treated as acute pain and not chronic, completely different treatment plan. So when you go to the medical world, they treat it as acute, and acute is like operations, medications, painkillers, physio, they're acute treatment. With
Okay.
chronic, it's actually completely different treatment. So if you're using an acute strategy to heal chronic pain, you're not going to get anywhere.
So what kind of a strategy is heals chronic pain?
So chronic pain is actually about understanding about the brain and the neural connection. So what happens is when you're in pain for a long period of time, you completely rewire your brain to only see and experience and feel and know pain. You have to break
Ah,
that cycle, because what happens is when you're perpetuating that cycle, your nervous system thinks it's in constant danger. If your nervous system believes it's in constant danger, it switches your immune system down to 20% function. How can you heal if you're only running from your nervous
true.
capacity? It's healing your liver, because there's not just your immune system in your gut, there's immune system in your liver as well.
Wow.
Yeah, it's so incredible when you start researching this stuff. But what happens is your body thinks, I'm dying, I'm going to get hurt, this is going to hurt me. Da, da, da. You're living in fear.
Yeah.
And your nervous system is too busy keeping you alive that it doesn't have time to repair. So when you're sleeping on a night, what happens? You can't sleep.
Yeah.
You're up all night because your liver is trying to process what's happened during the day. Because another thing that people don't realize, and this is a gem when you realize that your adrenal glands, when you're in fear, produce cortisol, which then the liver has to process. So your liver processes in the middle of the night and it's having to process adrenaline. So what happens? It wakes you up.
Yes. Okay.
Okay? So that's
Wow.
so it's about rewiring the brain, and it's not as scary as it sounds. Like rewiring the brain, you're like thinking, "Oh my god, is she going to cut my head open?" And stuff.
Yeah. No,
It's
it's
not.
not like that.
It's
Yeah.
not like that at all. It's not much different from weight loss, or well, weight loss to call it, but we know that it's releasing weight.
Right.
It's not much different. It's just what happens is with people in chronic pain, it's that next level. It's so entrenched in every single cell of our body that you've got to rewire the brain so it starts to dictate to the cells that it's safe to start to heal and repair again.
Wow, that is amazing. Okay, so what would be if somebody is in chronic pain or their body needs healing, it's not able to heal itself, what would be some of the first steps they need to take?
Okay, the first step, and this one is bloody difficult, is take responsibility. So as you can tell from my accent, I'm not from here. I'm from the UK, and there everything is free. There's no gap. There's no Medicare where there's a gap and you've got to pay. Everything is free.
Okay.
All of your healthcare. So it's really difficult to take responsibility because all the responsibility is being taken away from you. And when you take responsibility for your health, what happens is you are no longer in that blame or shame, because we start to blame everybody else for our pain. We start to blame everybody else. I went through it myself. And when you do that, you're keeping your nervous system in that fight or flight response because you're negatively gearing what's going on inside of your mind. So that means your body is punished for it. So that's a first step. Now, the second step is acceptance. So you've just got to accept. And honestly, I teach people this stage is just about, you know what, it is what it is. And that takes time. It's not easy to always accept that you've been misdiagnosed, you've not been helped, you've been ignored, they've been given the wrong treatment, you've had unnecessary operations. You have to come to a place of accepting. Because if you don't accept, you're going to live in fear. If you live in fear, you're putting your nervous system back into the fight or flight response.
And sometimes couldn't it be about, people don't understand why they are going through things like this when other people seem, not to have those issues, don't have. I know when it comes to weight loss, for a long time I was in the mindset of, why do I have the body that is prone to putting on weight? Why doesn't everybody have that issue? Why me? And it does take you time to get through that. So do you feel that is part of the acceptance phase as well sometimes?
Yeah, absolutely. Do you know what? I went through that stage. My God, 3 autoimmune diseases, accident when I was pregnant, learning how to walk again 3 times, PT, like you name it, I've been through it. I know what it's like to go, I have been born with an 80-year-old woman's body. That's how I felt. And I used to say that when I was a teenager. Why have I got an 80-year-old woman's body? And when you're saying that to yourself, then you start acting like an 80-year-old woman.
Yes, that's right.
So you've got to just accept that it is what it is, and it's no one's fault, and it's certainly not my fault either, because you're only doing the best that you can with what you know.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So so they're the 2 biggest steps, the 2 first steps?
There's 6 steps. I'll just go through them. The third one is hope. You've got to have hope that you're going to heal yourself. You have to have hope. If you don't have the hope that you're going to heal yourself, then you're not going to heal yourself. You're going to put blocks everywhere. And the next one is to believe. So you go from hoping and you go, I hope that I'm going to heal myself. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I just hope that it will. Have that glimmer of hope. And then it's believing. And then once you believe, you start to shift into knowing. And then you have this certainty. Remember that certainty I said? I knew 100% that I could live with my bowel. And I knew that I could heal it. I had that absolute certainty. But it doesn't always come for most people. Most people don't go straight to knowing.
Yeah.
The steps. So you've got to have hope that it'll work for you. And that's listening to my story and going, you know what? If she can do it, so can I. I'm not different to you. I know it might sound like that.
Yeah.
But I've just had a lot of chances at healing myself, like more than most people.
Yeah.
And believing that you can do it. We think that everybody else can do everything, but we can't. We think everybody else is better than us. God, I've been through that as well. The self-worth issues.
Yeah.
Honestly, you can do it. And there's people like me and Shari out there who hold your hand until you know that you can do it. That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
And then the other one is be and do. So you might not be pain-free, you might not be disease-free. But if you be the person that you want to be the person that you imagine that doesn't have them issues, and you do the things,
Yeah. Wow.
And then you will eventually have, and that's exactly how I heal myself every single time. When I broke it down and went through it, I was like, what are the fundamental steps? And
Yeah.
it was like, these were the steps. And we do
Yeah.
everything backwards. We
Yeah.
think that I will, when I'm out of pain, then I will do the things and I'll be the person who is out of pain. It doesn't work like that. Because
No.
the only way to rewire your brain is to go, I am already there.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So, what, specifically because my audience is mainly weight loss,
Mm-hmm.
weight release, is there anything specific to that field that you would like to add in at this point?
Well, this is interesting. I've had a lot of my clients lose a lot of weight because of the fact that they've rewired their brain for something else. So emotional eating is what I work with generally because I had that issue myself. So what happens is you're taking these painkillers, you're taking steroids, you're not feeling great, and you're grasping at food to help you feel better.
Yeah.
And going on all these diets, your diets is actually destroying your body. It's not
Yes.
helping it. It really is. And I advocate quick fix solutions do not work long term. They don't. And you
No.
know that more than anyone when it comes to emotional eating. Like, it doesn't work. So give yourself some space and say, you know what? These diets that they're saying that works, they work for a short period of time. And most people who have used those diets have needed to go in for operations and they've needed to lose vast amounts of weight in short periods of time.
Yeah.
Give yourself permission that it's a journey.
Yeah, definitely.
It's not just I click my fingers and I've got no weight. Can you imagine what pressure you're putting on your body?
Yeah, a lot of pressure.
A lot of pressure. And you know what? You might lose all that weight, but I'll tell you, in the long term, you're going to destroy yourself, especially your liver. Your liver
Yeah.
is the one that suffers.
Yeah, definitely. So, do you have any resources that can help if people are looking for help in this area?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as we was talking about earlier about when you're in fear, fear of movement, fear of going out, whatever that fear is for you, you are going to be in the sympathetic nervous system, which is the fight or flight response.
Yeah.
Now, I've studied with one of the major institutes in the world in regards to rewiring your heart and your brain.
Yep.
Okay? So I have a little mini course that I'm going to give to your audience. And what that does is it's a diary with a video training and it's a meditation and it's only 2 or 3 minutes twice a day. And what happens is that's the start to rewiring your brain. And that's what I use in all my pain clinics.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And I love that you said 2 or 3 minutes because I know for a lot of people, time can be a barrier sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So when you say 2 or 3 minutes, anybody can find 2 or 3 minutes a couple of times a day. So that is awesome. Thank you so much. I have one last question for you.
Yeah.
And I do want to say as well, as I mentioned at the beginning, I have heard Dawn's story, and I will say that this version of her story is abridged. It's not the full story, and that's fine. It's not everybody has hours and hours and hours in a day to consume all this information. The important message that we've got across is that, well, I'll say for me, the important message that we've got across today is that you can have immense pain in your body. You can have all the medical professionals telling you that this is what you need to do, and sometimes you have a knowing in yourself. Dawn had a knowing in herself, and she knew. And I think a lot of people have that, but they don't believe in it. So if you have that, this is testament that you can absolutely have faith in yourself, believe in yourself, and heal your body. So my last question for you, Dawn, is what's the one thing you want people to walk away, if there's one thing that you want them to walk away from this knowing, what would that one thing be?
That one thing would be to know that you can heal yourself no matter how dreadful it is. And you just got to get up one more time than you've fallen down. That's the one thing you can heal yourself. What Shari has just said, that it's that voice, that it's that belief, it's that feeling, whatever it is for you, just knowing that information is right. We don't trust it because we've been told not to trust it. And I'm gonna just share a couple of times where it's worked for me. I've shared once. The second time is when I went into renal failure. I went into the accident and emergency, and they discharged me and said that there was nothing to worry about. I just had digestion issues.
Okay.
I left, and the voice came, and it said, "This is really serious. You need to get yourself back in there." My heart was starting to fail because of the potassium levels that was going on with my kidneys. I was actually having a form of a heart attack.
Wow.
And so I went back and stood my ground.
They sent you away.
They sent me away, and I would have, yeah. So my body was ready to abort the pregnancy, and I would have possibly died as well.
Wow.
The potassium was going like this. So my heart was having massive reactions. I was having electric shocks in my heart. Second time. Third time is when I went in to go see them. I was like, oh, they know better than me. I'm not going to say anything. And suddenly I just got this, you have to say it. And it just blurted out. And I just told them, I said, look, I've been discharged. This has been going on for me. The next minute I'm being wheeled in, and they're going, oh my God, you could have died. We're so sorry. You shouldn't have been discharged. You should have been brought in. The other time was when I was, this one here, and I've not really touched on this, Shari, but you've heard this story before. When I was 5.5 months pregnant, I slipped and I was left disabled. So I had an incident that caused 11 injuries where I lost the use of my legs.
Wow.
And the use of my right leg never came back properly. But the time where I listened, I'd been told in the space of 10 days by 3 different specialists that this was my life. I was going to be addicted to painkillers. Nothing could be done. Go see a clinical psychologist. And this was by 3 professionals in their field who were the ones who were supposed to be the chronic pain experts in Australia, may I add.
Wow.
Now, I went into a nervous breakdown, and I crawled into my bedroom on the floor, and I was in the fetal position plotting how I could end my life.
Wow.
And the only reason why I didn't end my life is because I was housebound, and my 16-month-old son would have found me, and I couldn't live with that. Otherwise, I would have ended my life in that moment. Shari, it got that bad. But you know what? That voice came again.
Yes.
And it said it's not true. The stuff that was spinning around in my head is I am worthless. It's best if I just die. I'm making my husband's life a misery and my son's life a misery. And this was going on for hours, spinning. And the voice came and said it's not true. And I held on to it.
Wow.
So if there's one thing that I'd love for anybody who's listening to this is to walk away and go, you know what? I'm listening to that voice, no matter how crazy it sounds. Because I hope that what I've shared with you shows that it's the truth. It's here to help you. It's here to guide you. It's here to support you. And it loves you more than you can ever imagine.
Wow. That is amazing, and that is an awesome thing to end this episode on. Thank you so much for being with us and sharing your story, Dawn, and I look forward to getting feedback from people listening in how it has impacted their life, because I know that it will.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you so much for joining me on this episode. Remember to check out the show notes, and if you have any comments, feedback or suggestions, I'd love to hear them. If you've received value from this podcast, make sure to subscribe, and I'd love you to rate and review the show. Have a fabulous day.